All right, family. So without further ado, again, if you've got questions, put them in the Q&A so you don't lose them, or better still, raise your hand after the presentation is finished. Yeah. Over to you, sis.
Thank you. Greetings, family. I hope you're all well. My name's Leah Salmon, the Naturally You coach. Greetings. Oh, look, all these lovely people in the chat. Nice to see you all. So I'm gonna aim to get through this so that there's enough time for questions. And but whilst still making sure that I give you as much information as I can during this. Now, when Leon asked me what I wanted to speak about, I was gonna choose some big scientific something, but um I realized that the very basics are sometimes very much overlooked, especially when you go to a lot of events and seminars and talks and YouTube and TikTok and WhatsApp videos that get sent around and all that kind of stuff that go into deep science of things. Sometimes the very fundamental information, the very basics that everything else sits on top of kind of get left behind. So even though it sounds really simple, I'm going to go over how to, this sounds crazy for saying it, but the best way to wash your hair, um, our beautiful, unique Afro hair, things to take into consideration when we are washing our hair, and how to look after our hair so that it stays healthy. And now I'm going to preface this whole talk by saying, and I touch on this a lot through a lot of the work that I do, and I'm going to touch on it now as well. I don't do a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about right now. I don't do a lot of the things that I talk about right now, but I often have people tell me that my hair grows like weeds because two under 2 years ago, my hair, I was bald, and now this is how long it is. And I pay so little attention to my hair. I should be bald. The lack of attention I give to my hair. I do go through phases, like all of us. I go through phases where I'm really good and I'm doing all the things, and then I go through other phases where I will go to sleep like this. I will go to sleep. I won't even twist it. I won't even put it in two plaits, two bunches. I'll just go to sleep and hope for the best. Um, and my hair still grows. So we're gonna touch more on this now, but it's really important to understand your hair, what your hair needs, what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. And again, even though this is really fundamental and foundational, what I'm going to be talking about, how to wash your hair and look after it afterwards, sometimes it's this critical foundationary step that can make all the difference. And aside from all the masks and all the other, the masks and the hair teas and the special products and the the spritzes and the juices and all the kind of things that you do to your hair. Sometimes just getting this down packed can be the most important thing you do, and it will mean that everything else that you do on top of this will work better. It's like if you've got it's like when they say a six pack is made in the fridge. If you've got a healthier diet, it's easier for you to build muscle. It's easier for you to achieve all the goals that you have in the gym if you just take care of that step. And for some people, and I feel this is me, for some people, just making sure that when you wash your hair and what you do just after you wash your hair can be the most important thing that you do. And even though I don't do all the things, I do make sure I do the wash bit and the after bit. I do make sure I do that bit. And I'm sure if I did all the other things, my hair would be twice as long as it is right now. But but here we are. But also, I'm also at a stage in my life where hair growth is not important to me. Like, I have daughters, and for them, hair growth is super important. They want it to be down their back. They want it to look like Enatan, the sister that's talking at the event that we're going to be doing, the Hidden Science of Black Hair. They want like huge, beautiful hair. And I remember having that goal as well. But right now, my goal is just, I might even cut this off, but I'll talk more about my hair journey actually and my hair goals when I do the talk. But I just wanted to preface the talk by saying that. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Leah Salmon, the Natural You Coach. I'm a homeschooling mother. I have 6 children, one angel boy. I'm a best-selling author of 6 books, a speaker, nutritionist, and life coach. I do something called live blood analysis, and I run a Wolverhampton-based health centre, and my main focus is on Black women's hair. So because of that, I also have a lot of sisters that have come into the clinic where their hair has been one of the challenges that they want to use my services to help them rectify, whether it's balding, whether it's their hair not growing properly, whether it's patches, whether it's stagnation, whether it's dry scalp, dandruff, all those kind of things. So I've also seen sisters go through their hair health journey, which has, on top of the kind of research that I've done, I've seen firsthand how a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about actually work. The ones that work, the ones that don't work, and the ones that sometimes work and sometimes don't work. So today, what I'm going to be going over is now, these are all huge subjects in and of themselves. So I am going to be kind of going over them in a snapshot way, but it will give you enough information. Feel free to take screenshots and all the things. It'll give you enough information to kind of go off and explore the things that you think you need to get more information on. But I'm going to be going over how to safely and effectively wash our beautiful hair, 3 steps to take afterwards to maintain moisture and hydration, and then how to care for your loose afro between washes. So when I say loose afro, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about you don't wash your hair and then you put it in a protective style. You don't cane row it. You don't put it in braids. It's not locked. It's just kind of like this. How to maintain this between washes. Um, and again, like Leon mentioned in detail just now, we are going to be doing the Hidden Science of Black Hair event on Saturday, the 4th of April, which is just a few weeks away. And at that event, a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about also, there's going to be a lot more detail, a lot more information, a lot of businesses that you can find out a lot more about all the things that I'm going to be talking about and be able to go into more depth in the things that I'm talking about at this event. That is why this event is so important for you to make sure you are at if this topic is important to you. And you can use the discount code Leah5 to get £5 off your ticket. So even though I'm not going to go into the science, I do want us to understand that scientifically, because this is the Hidden Science podcast, so we can't not touch on science. Our hair is unique and beautiful. There are lots of different hair types that we have within the Black community. So there are now when I talk about all the things that I'm going to be talking about, there are caveats with all of this because when it comes to hair type, you can have, and I know I have it, and I've seen it in my children, I've seen it in clients that I've worked with, you can have multiple types of hair on your own head. The back of your hair might be more kinky, the middle of your hair might be more curly or coily. You might even have parts of your hair that look bone straight, even though you've never done anything to it. If water touches your hair, it can go from being bone straight to being kinky. Equally, if water touches your hair, it can go very wavy. And then when it dries out, it coils back up again. So understanding and getting knowledge of your own hair is really important, but understanding that our hair does have different types. There are different types of hair within our community. And at some point, about 30 or 40 years ago, was it that much? Maybe 30 years ago, someone decided to put numbers and gradients on our hair. Um, in fact, I believe it was an Oprah. Someone in the chat, if you don't know this detail, because I forgot to check this detail out. I swear it was someone on Oprah that came up with all the gradations of hair. So one A, one B, one C, two ABC, three ABC, four ABC. Again, I know that different parts of my hair are different hair types. Now, when they were coming up with these definitions, it is normally to sell a product or to sell a kind of service. It was, this is great for this 4A hair. If you've got 4C, this will be better if you've got 2B. And the reason why that can become a little confusing if we assume that our whole hair is like that is because our whole hair isn't like that. So we might use a product and it doesn't give us what it's promised because the whole of our hair isn't one type. And again, that's why it's really important for you to understand your hair. Now, it can be easier when you've got, children and you're doing their hair because you'll be able to see the different parts of their hair and how the structure of their hair changes throughout their scalp. On your hair, it might be difficult. And this is why one of the things I definitely recommend is that if you are not going to do your own hair, then go to a qualified specialist in Afro hair, a sister, a brother, someone who has trained and understands the uniqueness of our hair and doesn't just treat our hair. Number one, doesn't just treat our hair like our hair is Caucasian. And number two, doesn't just treat our whole head the same. Someone that's really qualified will understand that different parts of your hair are different and may need different treatment. And they'll also be able to advise you how to best look after your hair based on the different textures that you have throughout your hair. Now, not only do we have a different kind of curl pattern or structure to the shafts of our hair, even the shape of each strand of hair, when you look at it under a microscope, and in fact, one of the science lessons that I did with my children the other day, we were looking at things under my microscope, and we actually pulled out one of my daughter's strands of hair and we put it under the microscope, and we could actually see we could see what the hair looked like underneath. And we could see this kind of hexagonal pattern going along the hair shaft. And those are the cuticles along the shaft of the hair. But Afro hair tends to be slightly flatter rather than a kind of tube. It's slightly flatter, and that allows it to curl and kink and coil more easily than Caucasian or Asian hair, which is a lot more straight. And again, even within the Asian and Caucasian and communities, their hair differs as well. Even the way our hair comes out of our scalp, it's important to understand the way that our hair comes out of our scalp. It comes out differently. Straight hair comes out kind of straight. Wavy hair is at a slight angle. Curly hair is at even more of an angle. And they all have different consistencies. That's why just going to the pound shop and buying Tresemme or buying, one of the L'Oreal products or buying the one that smells the fruitiest, that's not always going to get you the results that you want or that you need, because they were made, and if they were tested, because not even the regulations around hair care are so lax. Not everything even gets fully tested. And just like with the pharmaceutical industry, which I talk about all the time, they might test one product and see how that one product affects one hair group, but they definitely don't know how Tresemme is going to react with L'Oreal and how it's going to react with, I don't even know the different names. What are the different what are the different names of the shampoo? Head and Shoulders. That's the last time I bought those kind of shampoos. Head and Shoulders, baby shampoo. They don't know how all the conditioners and the masks and the colors and the relaxer. They don't know how all of the things are going to react. And the effect that they're going to have on our cuticles of hair. And then when you really look in depth at a hair shaft, again, the middle of the hair is called the medulla, and then you've got the cortex of the hair, and then you've got the hair cuticle, which is made up of lots of different layers, and they kind of sit on top of each other in this kind of patterns. When we were looking at it under the microscope, we could see the kind of hexagonal pattern of those cuticles, and her cuticles were actually nice and closed when we looked at her hair. So our hair is unique and it's beautiful. And we have to, it's really important. The way that we're going to get the best results is not by following kind of one size fits all recommendations. It's finding what works best for you and what is right for your hair type as well. And that does take experimentation and trying things out with a foundationary information. So for example, I remember Yaki Awakening was talking about diabetes as well. And he was saying what I think I've said, I know Leon said it as well, that in the food industry, in the medical industry, they say that, fruit is got too much sugar in it and it's not good for people that have got diabetes. Whereas I think all three of us have worked with people who have got diabetes and they eat fruit and they have absolutely no challenges. In fact, it improves a lot of the health challenges that they have. But you've always got that one that one person you work with who is super sensitive to fruits. And so we can't just assume, because we know a lot of people are okay with fruit, that everyone's going to be okay with fruit. We also can't assume, but because a lot of Black people are having a great experience with one hair care regime, it's going to work for everyone. It's really important to find what works best for you. So, having said all of that, how do you even know that you might need to do anything about your hair care routine? Because also some of us kind of get into a pattern where we just think that the way our hair is just the way our hair is. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have bad hair. Our mum had bad hair, our grandma had bad hair, bad hair. It was always dry, it never grew, it always broke. But also, we're creatures of habit. So, in the same way that an adult male will tend to eat the same 3 meals given the chance, 3 to 4 meals. An adult female will tend to rotate the same kind of 5 meals. And if you've got a family, that might be 7 meals on rotation. We're not very adventurous with the things that we do. We get into habits, we copy the things that our parents did, that the people that are around us did. We're not very adventurous with things. Um, and sometimes we have just been in the same hair care routine since we were literally teenagers. And that's possibly what we watched our parents do. I know sisters that are still using Dax and and Vaseline on their edges because that's what they're just in the habit of doing that. And because they've managed, they're used to the discomfort. They know how to, cover up. And oftentimes because they feel their natural hair is unmanageable, all of these negative words. That's why a lot of sisters don't feel comfortable enough to have their natural hair out, and they will choose to make other choices to create beauty with their hair, whether that's protective styling with extensions or with wigs or with weaves and all the things. And sometimes it's just because they don't know enough about their hair to do something about it. So if you feel your natural hair is dry and brittle and dull. It doesn't have any kind of shine or sheen to it. It breaks often. Now, I'm not talking about the shedding of our hair. So our hair goes through hair cycles. I'm not going to talk about that a lot today, but our hair does go through hair cycles. We've got the growth stage, the resting stage, and the shedding stage. And during that shedding, and our hair is always in this cycle. So every day we lose something like 50 to 100 strands of hair. That's what we lose. I'm not talking about that natural breaking. I'm talking about your hair is coming out in clumps. Every time you brush your hair, every time you wash your hair, every time you touch your hair, tons of hair is coming out, that kind of thing. Recurring split ends. Now, split ends is difficult to see on Afro hair. And I never even really bothered with split ends because I always thought it just adds to the, it adds to the Afro. So I never really bothered. I didn't even check to see whether I had split ends to see if it was a problem. But because the ends, and we'll talk about this more again later on, but the ends of your hair are the oldest parts of your hair. So looking after them, number one, is important. And if they are showing signs of damage recurringly, then that could be an indication that you need to do something about looking after your hair more. If your hair is unresponsive to all types of good products, I mean, you've got the best products, you're working with a hairstylist or as someone that really knows your hair and understands your hair, you're working with a trichologist, and no matter what you do, your hair is not responding to the best, the most delicate procedures. That's also a sign you just need to change what you're doing. There is very slow, almost unnoticeable growth in your hair for absolutely years. And the only way you can really tell this is if you go through a time where you actually cut your hair and then try to grow it and it doesn't grow back. And if you've got dry scalp, not so much if you've got dandruff, because dandruff is more of a bacterial infection. So there's a reason for that. Mazizi, those kind of infections on the hair that create symptoms, that's one thing. But just dry scalp, if you get that regularly as well, all of these are symptoms and signs that you might want to change what it is you're doing. None of these necessarily are just the way you are. There's almost 99% of the time there's something that you can do about all of these, and it doesn't need to be chemical, it doesn't need to be hair grafting. There's natural ways to do it, and again, it can lie in just the way that you're washing and protecting your hair after you wash. So some of the things that we can to look at to safely and effectively wash our beautiful hair. Number one is the frequency. Now, I've seen people talk about washing their hair anything from 3 times a week to every 4 to 6 weeks, if not 2 months. Now, the scalp of our hair is just like our skin. And the scalp of our hair may not be exposed to the elements, but the shafts of our hair absolutely are. So even if we're not putting lots of products on our scalp and on our hair is going to build up and accumulate dirt from the environment, from the pollution when we go outside, from our bedding when we lie down, from the clothes that we put on. If you're working out, the sweating that you're doing, your skin is still the one of the biggest organs of detoxification, and if we don't have good detoxification pathways, we're not eliminating things through our stool and through our urine and through our lymphatic system as efficiently. Our skin is one of the ways that detox things come out, and your scalp is part of that. So especially when there's kind of liver challenges, there's been a lot more research that I've looked at recently that shows when you've got liver challenges, there's a lot of things that come out through the scalp. And I was actually used to work with a loctician that specifically said when the liver is challenged, she sees a specific type of residue on the scalp. So, not washing your hair for significant periods of time can allow a lot of that build up. And that isn't, in the same way, it's not good if we're not washing our skin, even though our skin is absolutely more exposed than our hair is. For some people, this is just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Equally, we also have a protective layer of liquid that's on our skin called sebum, which is made up of waters and oils and nutrients from our body. And that's a protective layer. So in the same way, it's not healthy to wash your hands too regularly and wash your skin too regularly, because every time you wash your skin, you have to allow that sebum time to replenish on your skin so your skin is not left exposed and it's nice and soft and supple. If you're constantly washing your hands, you're washing that off, especially if you're not creaming them again. And the same with your scalp. So if you wash your scalp too much, you can wash too much of that protective layer off. And that in and of itself can result in dry scalp and your scalp being itchy and flaky. But washing it not enough can also result in it being itchy and flaky because the buildup is irritating your scalp. So I would definitely recommend that you try out different frequencies of washing your hair. And again, we've got people who wash their hair 3 times a week or twice a week, and their hair is growing and it's healthy and all the things, but that is definitely not going to work for people. And just on a basic hygiene level, knowing the cycle of our skin is that our skin regenerates itself every 3 to 4 days, roughly, sometimes 5 to 6 days. I would definitely recommend people and again, unless it's in a protective style like braids. And the thing is, when your hair is in a protective style like braids, you know that you're not going to be washing your hair for a certain period of time. And some people, because they know they're not going to do that, some people are comfortable with it and there's no problem with them not doing that. Other people know they need to wash their hair every 3 weeks, even in that protective style, so that they don't have challenges. So how much you wash your hair also has something to do with your actual physical health, the health of your actual body. But again, if I had to put a number on it, I'm definitely recommending sisters wash their hair every 10 days to 2 weeks. Now, I remember when I used to wash my children's hair, I used to wash their hair every single week, if not I think the most I would leave it is about 10 days when they were young. Then when my daughters became teenagers and they wanted to grow their own hair, they would ask me to braid their hair. They braid their natural hair. And then my eldest daughter absolutely left her hair for about 4 weeks, and the way her hair grew. So another kind of message that goes out is that the less you wash your hair, the buildup on your scalp acts as a fertilizer to nourish the new hair that's coming through. And that's why not washing your hair regularly and leaving it for some time allows that excess growth to happen. But that absolutely doesn't happen with everyone, but I have seen it happen. Now, I know I need to wash my hair I can't really leave it more than 10 days. The other thing, just like a lot of different parts of our body, regularity and a schedule and doing things in a rhythm and a cycle is also really useful. So in the same way, even if you're going to bed at 1:30 and you're waking up at 9:30 in the morning, even though those times don't sound good, if you get into a frequency, a pattern of going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time, you're generally going to get much better sleep than someone who might be going to bed earlier, but the time they're waking up is a lot different, or they're going to bed and waking up at lots of different times. Their body can't get into a natural rhythm the way that somebody who goes to bed at 1:30 and wakes up at 9:30, they can get into. Even though going to bed at 1:30 is not ideal, that frequency is useful. So having some kind of frequency that you get into is useful. Pre-washing your hair. So some people benefit from doing something to their hair before they wash it so that when they do wash it, depending on what they're washing it with, they get better results. And we're going to look at different types of things that you can wash your hair with. If you are using a shampoo that you know is, if you've got a lot of buildup because you do use a lot of products, because products work really well with your hair, and you've got a buildup, you might want to do something that helps soften up that buildup before you wash it so that when you do wash it, more comes out. If you've got particularly dry hair, you might want to put something hydrating on it or moisturizing on it. So this can be anything from putting aloe vera gel or aloe vera juice on your hair if you want to hydrate it, to putting something like olive oil on your hair before you wash it, so that when you do wash it, it doesn't strip as much or it stays more hydrated throughout the process. Then you've got the consideration of whether you co-wash or whether you use a shampoo. So these are all things to take into consideration. So what should you actually wash your hair with? So co-washing is where you basically wash your hair with conditioner. Now, I thought this was some foolishness when I heard it. I was like, how are you going to wash your hair? How are you going to wash your hair with conditioner? How does that make any sense? What's the conditioner doing? Because the conditioner doesn't have any detergent in it to break down the oils that have built up on your scalp to wash them off. So in fact, you're adding more oil to your scalp that could already be covered in oil. So how is all of this going to work? However, a co-wash product is a specific product that is mainly conditioner, but there's some detergent in it. So when people heard about co-washing, it was more in the Caucasian community where washing their hair with just conditioner suited the structure of their hair a lot better. Also, because a lot of Caucasians, because of the structure of their hair, they can actually afford to wash their hair a lot more regularly. And that's why you will find Caucasians who wash their hair literally every day. One moment, please. Could you give the phone to my dad? Ask him to call away, please. You will have Caucasians who wash their hair every day, and that absolutely works for them, but it's not necessarily going to work for us because of the way that our hair is. And they can use just a conditioner. When that came into the Black community and we tried to do it, a lot of experts found that co-washing with just a conditioner doesn't always work for our hair. But having a conditioner-based product with a small amount of detergent in it absolutely did work. And again, if you've got very dry hair, then co-washing can be perfect for you because you have lots of oily, rich cream lathering up your hair, really coating the strands of hair, really coating the scalp. You're using your fingers to dislodge any buildup on your scalp, and then you're washing it out with nice warm water, which has picked up all of the debris, all of the buildup, and you end up with a brilliant result. That's not going to work for everyone, but if you do have really dry hair, that's something that can work for you. A clarifying way of washing your hair. And I remember when I was going really deep into kind of chemicals in our home environment, I stopped using shampoos altogether with my hair and the children's hair. And I was basically only using clarifying processes. So clarifying is where you know that there's a heavier buildup of products on your hair. You're using a lot of products on your hair, or for people that may not use a lot of products, but they know that their environment means that they're going to be picking up a lot. Maybe they swim a lot. Maybe they go to the gym very often. Maybe they travel on public transport a lot. Maybe they're in a very congested workplace and they know that they're just building up a lot of product, toxins on their hair. Clarifying is useful because it's a form of washing your hair that pulls a lot of heavy buildup off. Now, you can do clarifying with a clarifying shampoo. If you're using a clarifying shampoo, they tend to be a little stronger. They tend to pull more of the oils off because that's the point of them. They're trying to get a lot of more heavy buildup off. So if you are using a clarifying shampoo, I wouldn't necessarily recommend you do that more than every 3 to 4 weeks because it can be too stripping. If you're using a clay to wash your hair, you can do that every week or 2 weeks. Sorry, every 10 days to 2 weeks. Because even though it's clarifying, so we're talking about using bentonite clay in a paste or Rasul clay in a paste, green clay in a paste. You can use these different clays in pastes, slap them onto your hair, rub them in, let them sit for a little while, put a wrap around them, wash them all off, and they will, not only are they nourishing to the hair, but they soften the hair and they can help clean the hair as well. But if it's a clarifying shampoo, you might want to use those less regularly. Another way that people wash their hair, again, if you want to remove all kind of chemicals and things, is using an apple cider vinegar rinse. So this is where you dilute apple cider vinegar. I definitely wouldn't recommend you use apple cider vinegar neat, but you dilute apple cider vinegar and you literally rinse your hair with it. So you have a bowl underneath you, you tip your head into that bowl, you scoop up the apple cider vinegar, you pour it on, let it dribble back out into the bowl, scoop it out again, let it dribble through. And this is more for your scalp. Again, this helps to remove buildup. But for some people, the pH shift of having so much apple cider vinegar come through their hair can become drying for some people. Not everyone responds very well to that. Again, it works a lot better in for Caucasian hair, but it definitely has applications with Afro hair as well. And for some people, it works really, really well, especially if you do a combination of. So when I was doing it, I was doing the clay and then I would rinse the children's hair in the warm apple cider vinegar diluted, and it was quite heavily diluted as well. There's lots of other herbal teas, and I used to have there was used to be a really good herbal tea blend that Nyla Natural did, and I'm not sure why I don't think they do it anymore, but it was a really good blend of herbs that you made into a tea. She didn't actually recommend you washed your hair with it, but it was meant to be like a pre-wash or something that you use to rinse the shampoo out with. There's also an actual leaf called the abunu leaf, which you can either get the dry leaves and soak them in warm water, and they are saponified. So when they hit water, they create like a kind of bubbly, slippery, soapy kind of liquid, and then you can use that liquid in your hair. And a lot of if you go on YouTube, of all the places, if you go on YouTube, there's videos for everything. And there are videos that I've seen a few years ago of people using the Ambunu leaf, sorry, and getting really good results from using it. Their hair felt clean, it felt, nourished, it wasn't over dried. I'm not sure how easy it is to get this particular leaf. But other leaves that are really good is things like horsetail, nettle. Horsetail is probably one of the best herbs. I know that at the event we're going to talk a lot more about herbs and products, but horsetail is actually a brilliant hair health herb. And then you've got nettle as well, which is really nourishing to the hair. And I've also seen people use like dandelion root and dandelion leaf and making that tea up as well. Lavender is also really good as a tea because it's antibacterial and it is calming. So if there's a lot of kind of irritation on the scalp, that's a really good way of cleaning it. And because it's antibacterial, it also helps the hair shaft as well. Now, some people just use water to wash their hair. And again, this does work for some people. I definitely don't recommend just using water if that's the only way that you're washing your hair long term, because there's nothing to break down. Even because number one, you don't want to put water on your scalp that's so hot that you are damaging your scalp and it's, painful and all the things. But in order to just use water, you would need to use water that was hot enough to break down all of the buildup on your scalp. And that just is a bit counterintuitive. So even though some people do it, it's definitely not something that I would recommend, because for me, it's like washing your body in just water as well. Sulfate free. Now, if you are going to use just a regular shampoo, I would definitely recommend that you find one that's sulfate free. So just as I was logging on to the call today, I heard Leon talking about all the EDCs, the endocrine disrupting chemicals that are in a lot of different hair care products. And one of the dangerous products that is in a lot of chemical, sorry, that's in a lot of shampoos is sulfate. So we've all heard of, or a lot of us may have heard of sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium lauryl sulfate. These are chemicals that were originally used in industrial cleaning products because they're really good at breaking down oils. So if you want to clean the floors in a school's gym or cafeteria, of course you want the strongest products to break down all the dirt on the floor and clean it up. But in smaller doses, it started getting used in hair care products. And that is very stripping, very dehydrating to sometimes already dehydrated hair. So, so once you've decided what you're actually going to use on your hair, the steps of washing your hair. So, some people's challenges come at this stage. Their challenges with their hair come from not using the right product on their hair. Maybe they're using just water and they need a clarifier. Maybe they're co-washing and they need to be adding a little apple cider vinegar rinse. Maybe they're using sulfate-free shampoo when for them, clarifying might be more useful. So if you are having challenges with your hair, looking at what you're washing your hair with could be the first step of your journey. Now looking at how we wash our hair, what we actually do. And one of the things that, you know, the kind of stereotype is when we were children and our parents were doing our hair, they were always very rough with us. They were always like tugging at our hair and being, you know, pulling our hair and having no patience with us. And we would be crying and they would be telling us to be quiet and hitting us with the comb and all those negative stereotypes that happen. However, it is important to know that the more gentle we are with our hair, the better because of the structure of our hair. Because if we do have afro hair, and even if it's different in different parts, most of us have either got a wavy formation or we've got a coily or a kinked formation. And that formation of our hair means that every point along the shaft of hair where it curls or where it kinks is weaker than where it's just straight. So we do need to be more gentle with our hair. I mean, we need to be more gentle with ourselves as Black people anyway, especially Black women. We need to be more gentle with ourselves. Soft girl era that everyone's talking about, fully embrace all of that. And the way that you look after your hair can be part of that. Now, I used to scoff when people said they were having a wash day, when they were going to take a whole day to wash their hair. Because I said, who's got time for that? Who's got time to spend a whole day washing their hair? Now, to be fair, if before I had children and before I was married and before I had a business, I could have spent 2 days. I had so little going on in my life. I could have probably spent 3 days doing my hair. Now, I'm just hating because I've got a much busier life and I can't actually, I can't actually afford to spend a whole day doing my hair. However, the principle behind a wash day does make sense. It's the idea that you give yourself time to not have to rush the process of washing your hair, of caring for your hair, which means that when you wash your hair, you can do it in stages, you can separate your hair out, you can wash each section at a time, you can condition each section at a time, you can detangle as you go along, you don't need to rush through everything and get everything done as quickly as possible. So taking your time when you're washing your hair and washing it as gently as possible and using a conditioner if you need to is the first step. So being gentle with your hair is the first step. Using a conditioner if you need to. So if you feel that your hair gets drier than normal, then a good conditioner can be really useful because especially if you're using a sulfate or a clarifying shampoo that is designed to pull all the oils out, replenishing those oils as quickly as possible at the conditioning stage while your hair is still wet and it can absorb more of that moisture and hydration is a really good step. I don't use conditioner. I know a lot of sisters that don't use conditioner just because we don't feel we need to. However, when I have used conditioner, when I felt that I needed it, I do feel a difference. It's just not something that I know I need to do all the time. Then what we use to dry our hair. So now, again, one of the clarifying points I always want to make is I do get a little concerned when people start putting 16 things on a shopping list for them to look after their hair, because I always pull back in the day, we didn't have all of these things and we were still able to look after our hair. So I don't want to over commercialize what it takes for us to look after our hair. And I don't want to make looking after our hair feel like it's some big expensive situation because I don't think it has to be. However, I do understand the science and the practicality behind why things are used. So there's a new form of towel called microfiber towels, and microfiber towels have been around for ages, but their benefit in using them when we're looking after our hair, I understand. Now, most towels have all the little bits that come out of a towel are normally little tiny bits of twisted cotton that are kind of hooked. So when you're drying your hair with a regular towel, you sorry, regular towels have got little loops running along them. That's what makes them fluffy. Lots of little loops. So when you're drying your hair with a regular towel, what can sometimes happen is those your strands of hair can get caught in the little loops. And as you're drying your hair, it can pull and break your hair off. That's the concern with a regular towel. Microfiber towels are towels that have just got straight, short little fibers coming out of them. They are said to absorb more moisture, so they can dry the hair more quickly. And there's no concern about them catching our hair. So they're less likely to rip our hair when our hair is wet. Because when your hair is wet, it can be more delicate because it's already holding on to the weight of water. So that can make it more delicate. So if we're rough with it while it's wet, then it's more likely to break off. So if you can get a microfiber towel, fine. Like I got a free one. I went to an event once and I got a free microfiber towel. So I was like, happy days. That's my microfiber towel. It is a good investment if you are in a position to get it. However, the other way that you can do that, if you've just got a regular towel, because I don't want to exclude people who are not in the position to get a microfiber towel, if you just have a regular towel, you can just kind of pat your hair dry. That's the other option. Instead of kind of really rubbing it in and dressing it back, you can kind of tap your hair dry. If it's warm enough, letting your hair air dry. A lot of sisters I know use a um, pillowcase or a t-shirt that they have specifically for their hair, like an old t-shirt or an old pillowcase, because especially if they're cotton, because they don't have the loops on them. Or you can use very gentle heat. Now, I know sisters are going to use heat, whether we tell them not to use heat or not. Some sisters are very comfortable using heat. If you are going to use heat, using a gentle heat, using your hairdryer on the lowest level so that that can remove the heat. And again, if it's a warm day, if it's a hot day, because I don't want anyone to be out there getting a cold. But if it's a warm enough day, some people can just let their hair air dry after they've done the other steps. So you don't need to have your hair bone dry before you move on to the next step. So some people, the challenge they have is at this step. With some people, the challenge they have is what they're shampooing it with. Others, it's the challenge is them being too rough. So the most gentle thing you can do with your hair, in fact, if it's long enough, is to section your hair into four, 6 or 8 twists. Twist or plait your hair loosely. It doesn't need to be tightly. And then wash your hair so that all you're really doing is using your fingers to rub the dirt off your scalp. And then as the shampoo is picking up that dirt, it's pulling it through the twist or the braids. So, because some people, when they wash their hair, there's just loads of hair left in the sink. And that's because during the process of them pushing whatever product through their hair, they're being too rough and they're breaking it off. So in this picture, that's what you can see. The person's hair is in plaits and it's being washed in plaits. And if you do it for long enough, there's not a lot of dirt is going to get caught within those plaits. But after you have washed your hair, you can then undo the plait or the twist and then do the final rinse to make sure it all comes off. That is actually the best way because then you're not risking being too rough during the washing stage. And this in and of itself can help with hair growth. Now, what to do with your hair after you've washed it? So we have what's called the L.O.C method and then the LCO method. So once you've washed your hair, you want to dry it. It doesn't need to be bone dry again because we don't want it to be completely dehydrated. But once it's dried in some way, you can either add a liquid to it. Now, some people say that this L is just a liquid. Other people call it leave-in conditioner. which is a conditioner that's designed not to be washed out, but to be left on the hair for a long period of time. So after you've washed your hair, it's having a liquid in your hair, applying an oil to your hair to seal in the moisture from the liquid, and then putting a cream on your hair so that you can style it or steam it, or again, to seal the oil in that you've put in there as well. Now, for me, honestly, the liquid stage is me washing my hair. So after I've washed my hair, again, I don't dry it completely so that it's still a little bit wet. Then I put an oil on. I don't actually always even use a cream because I don't actually buy leave-in conditioners very often. So my actual absolute process is making sure I've washed my hair, being gentle with it after I've washed it, and then putting an oil on my hair. And then I pretty much leave my hair as it is. But the cream stage, if I am going to use a cream, again, it's normally like a Nyla cream or one of the other really good creams. Add the cream to my hair to seal everything in, and then I will manipulate my hair as little as possible. For other people, their process is using a liquid, then a cream, then an oil last. Now, how do you know which one of these two? Which means that the only products you really need, and if you buy good quality products, you won't need to use a lot of them each time. Some of them you can just use foods you've got in your house. So the oil can be a coconut oil, a shea butter, it can be a olive oil, and a jojoba oil. It could be oils you've got in your house. The liquid can be water. The liquid can be aloe vera juice. The liquid can be fenugreek. It can be clove water. See, I want rosemary tea. The liquids that you have and the oils that you have can be some of the foods that you have in your kitchen. So the only real products that you need could be a leave-in conditioner and a good form of shampoo, what you're going to be washing your hair with. So you can absolutely look after your hair very well without buying a ton of products. However, if you were going to buy a product for every stage, getting a good shampoo, a good sulfate shampoo that you use regularly, a good clarifying shampoo that you use every 3 or 4 washes, a good oil, a good hair oil, and a good leave-in conditioner. So 5 products can be all you really need to look after your hair very well. Yeah. Now, how do you know which one is going to be better for you out of the L.O.C method and the LCO method? There's something called hair porosity. Now, just like the gradations of hair, 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 4C, just like that, hair porosity is another label that's been given to describe our hair. And hair porosity is how much your hair absorbs liquids. And one of the ways that you can decide this or work this out is by getting a clear glass of water, a nice clear glass, half filling it with water, pulling out a strand of your hair, dropping it onto the top of the water, and then seeing what it does. Sorry, one moment. And then seeing what it does. So if you've got what they call low porosity hair, your hair will stay at the top of that water or it will just come down a little tiny bit. If you've got what they call normal porosity hair, it will sink down, but very slowly, and it might just kind of hover in the middle. If you've got high porosity hair, so porosity, we're talking pores, we're talking the way that those cuticles open up on your hair. If you've got high porosity hair, when you put that hair on the water, it will steadily sink and it will hit the bottom. Low porosity and normal porosity hair sometimes don't ever hit the bottom. And again, I did this test with all of my children the other day, and we did see different levels of the hair falling to the bottom or not. So high porosity hair has got a high absorption rate, and it does have trouble absorbing water. So if you look at the little picture on the side, this is where the cuticles can stay open. So when liquid goes into it, the liquid goes in, but those cuticles never seal back. So whatever you're putting on your hair, products that you're putting in your hair, water or oil or whatever, it goes on your hair, but it comes back out again. If you go into the warm, it comes back out again. If you go into the cold, the coldness of the air dehydrates it. So if you've got high porosity hair, the L.O.C method works a bit better for you because you put an oil on and then you put a cream on to seal that oil in. Because high porosity hair tends to dry more quickly. And the hair gets what they say frizzy more easily. Now, this is if you care about curl definition. If you care about curl definition, and if you care about it, that is entirely your prerogative to care that you want to be able to see the curls in your hair. So right now, my hair would be considered frizzy. This would be considered frizzy. When I was putting the oil and water on my hair just before the call, it did kind of define it. And again, I used regular tap water and I used olive oil mixed with coconut oil. Those are the two things that I used on my hair. And just using those, I had ringlets. If you've got low porosity hair, anytime your hair gets slightly warm, it can slightly open up the cuticles. But when you've got low porosity hair, they slightly open up, but you can seal them back down quite easily by using a cream. So low porosity hair works better with the LCO method. So you put a liquid on it and then you put a cream on it and then the oil can go on last because low porosity hair has got a low absorption rate, and it has more trouble absorbing moisture. So there's more product buildup that can happen because the product that you're putting on isn't just kind of coming out into the air. So it's what we call forever to dry after your hair washes. So when you've got high porosity, your hair dries quite quickly. When you've got low porosity, it feels like it's never really drying. So those are the two methods. And again, trying each of these methods to see which one leaves your hair still feeling and looking good days after you've washed it is going to determine which one of these two methods works best for you. And again, when it comes to porosity, I've also heard when I've been at events, people speak about when they've worked on clients' hair, they'll pull hair from the front and it's high porosity, and they'll pull hair from the back and it's low porosity. So the porosity of your hair might even be different throughout your hair. So again, it's about finding what process works best in general. Now, what can you do to look after your hair between washes? Between washes, protecting our hair, especially when we're in a colder environment, is the most important thing. And the easiest way to do that is to keep it covered. And that's why very often you will see me in a head wrap, because even though I don't do a lot with my hair, one of the things I do is I appreciate keeping it wrapped. I appreciate not being exposed to the elements all the time. And wearing a belt bonnet is one of those things. So looking after your hair between washes involves keeping it covered. You know, I do actually love having my hair wrap, but I do appreciate when my hair is out, it is being exposed to everything. Again, if I'm in a tropical country, I do not think about this as much. If it's warm here in winter, I don't think about this as much. But in the colder months, and because we have 9 months of not great weather in the UK, so having a bonnet, and a lot of bonnets are designed by people who are in the hair care industry. So a lot of bonnets do have better linings than just kind of regular cotton wraps. But wrapping your hair is another way of looking after it, just protecting it from the elements. Again, the ends of our hair are the oldest parts of our hair. So looking after and protecting the ends is really useful. So when people have got style, that's why people like wearing protective styles. That's why sisters like protective styles, because it means they can braid their hair and protect the ends as well. Your ends are not going to need as much protection when it's warmer outside, when there's more humidity outside. Again, depending on the porosity of your hair in general, that might be a little bit different. But when it's cold outside, you are losing a lot of more moisture to the elements outside. So the ends of your hair are going to be more, vulnerable. So protecting the ends means that if you are putting oils and products on your hair, making sure they go all the way down to the end. When you are combing your hair, so combs with this kind of teeth, these are the kind of combs we want to be using. Very wide teeth combs. So this is even a bit much. I will always go in with in fact, the thing I use the most on my hair is my fingers. Finger combing my hair is actually what I do more than anything else. If I am going to comb it, I tend to start with fingers and then I'll move on to something nice and wide like this, or I will, once I've gone through it and most of the tangles are out with this, then I'll go in with this. Now, I used to use one sec, let me show you. Okay. So I used to use, I didn't think my hair was well looked after until I was using this super, super, super fine tooth comb. Super fine tooth. That's what I used to use. And it was only about probably 8 years ago or something that I started going to a lot more hair events and learning more about hair and being asked to do talks about hair. And that's when I was told, yeah, we need to, these are for parting. That's the only thing that we need this for, parting. And then in more recent years, for edges, for styling your edges. But this is not what we need to be pulling through our hair. And it's because we were trying to get things like this through our hair that our hair got super damaged. You're right, love. So silk and satin on that you sleep on. That is the lining of hats that you wear. That's the lining of bonnets. Because again, like I was talking about with the towel and the cotton, silk and satin, your hair just glides past it. It's not going to get caught. It's not going to get ripped off. And because we're moving around a lot in when we go to sleep, if retention of hair and growth is important to you, then sleeping on a nice silk pillowcase, putting silk. So I don't use a pillow. So I used to have a silk what's it called? A silk scarf. That's it. I had a silk scarf where my head lay on my mattress, and that's what I would lie on. Because the other thing for me with bonnets, the reason I stopped doing things like bonnets and all that kind of stuff when I was sleeping, because I'd just wake up and they'd be off. And then I'd have to put them back on again, and then I couldn't find them, and then they'd be down the side of the bed. That's why I just, honestly, that's why I stopped doing certain things. If they become annoying to me, I stop doing them. But yeah, one thing I was able to maintain for quite a while was sleeping on a silk or a satin scarf. Protective styles. Now, I don't do protective styles, but I do 100% appreciate the benefit of protective styling if that's something that you choose to do, especially when it's cold weather, as long as you are looking after your hair and scalp while it's in that protective style. We don't want protective styles that are in too tight, that are putting pressure on our edges, that are too heavy. It's not ideal. It's definitely not ideal, especially for our hormonal health, if we are wearing plastic on our hair for long periods of time, for months and months and months. But again, if that's a choice that you are making to use a protective style, then making sure you're looking after your hair and your health and your scalp, you're not leaving it in for too long, all those kind of things is important. Protecting your hair at bedtime, again, making sure that you're not, if you know, when you are sleeping, you are protecting it in some way is useful. Then using that lock or LCO method every few days, or even if it's like if you are deciding to wash your hair every 2 to 3 weeks, doing it at least once a week to give it some love and nourishment between washes can help to maintain growth and health of your hair. So this little diagram that I made years ago just kind of summarizes and highlights those steps for looking after your hair naturally. So we've got the handling, the hydration, the hair products, and at the top there we've got which we've spoken about. So we've spoken about handling, spoken about hydration, spoken about hair products, and then there is whole foods. So we haven't spoken about a lot of whole foods because again, this is going to be covered a lot more on the day. But one of the things that I love is, as well as being a nutritionist, so appreciating all the healthy foods that are going to be beneficial. And during my talk, I will definitely talk about the 19 foods that I recommend for keeping your hair nice and healthy. I also definitely recommend herbs. I love herbs. Herbs are one of my favorite things when it comes to natural health because they're so diverse and they're so versatile and they're so powerful. One of the herbal tea blends that we've got that I created is called Tuma, which is, I think it's Swahili for iron. And it's our iron and blood boosting tea. And it's a combination of 7 herbs, including burdock root, hibiscus, nettle, dandelion, red clover. And that's a picture of it there. So one of the things that you can do to nourish your hair from the inside out to support the washing and the handling of your hair as well, because you can wash and handle your hair amazingly, but if the hair that's coming out of your head is malnourished, then it's going to be harder to look after it. So one of the ways that we can nourish our hair is by making sure that we are eating foods that provide nutrients to go into the hair in the first place. And one of those nutrients is iron and all the minerals that come along with iron as well. So even though this is our iron and blood boosting tea, our herbal tea blend, as with foods, there's no one food that only has one nutrient in it. So all of these herbs have got lots of different nutrients that all support each other and they all work together synergistically as well. But they are absolutely known for their iron content. So again, the burdock root. And the other thing about the burdock root, the nettle and the dandelion, they also are really good for blood circulation. So that's delivering more nutrients to the scalp to feed the hair shaft as well. And the nettle and the dandelion are also really good for the liver, and the liver stabilizes and supports. Sorry, yes. Yeah, that nettle and dandelion are really good for the liver, and the liver stabilizes and supports hormone balance. And we know that hormone balance is also really important for hair growth as well. And I'm going to be going into that in a lot more detail when we do our talk, because I'm going to be talking about hair and menopause. Again, I look forward to seeing you at the Hidden Science of Black Hair event, which is going to be happening in just a few weeks. And you can go to book your ticket now and use the discount code Leah5 to get £5 off your ticket. I should have put a bet on that I can sell the most tickets to this event. I should have put a bet on, but I'm determined to sell the most tickets to the event. So do me a favor, be Team Leah, and please use the discount code because then everyone's a winner. Because then I win a bet that I have with myself. Leon doesn't even know about this wager I'm having with myself, but this competition that's happening in my own head. But I'm gonna win the competition for selling the most tickets, and you lot get £5 off your ticket, and we have a nice full event. So please use discount code Leah5 to get £5 off your ticket. And I look forward to seeing you at that event. And this beautiful brown skinned lady with her lovely curled hair, nice and shiny, smiling. This is what we want you to feel when you come back from the event. With the information that you learn. So you're gonna come inquisitive and you're gonna leave inspired. I think that's what the caption is on the flyer. But this is the beauty of black hair. Nice and shiny, nice and curly, ends looked after and protected, following the recommendations that I've given, learning more about how your hair works and what works best for your hair, coming to the event, gathering all the rest of the information. This is what is possible for our hair. You can find out more about the work that I do as a natural health coach focused on Black women's health at thenaturallyyoucoach.com. That's also where you can find the Tumor tea blend as well. If there is time for any questions, then I'm happy to take questions now, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Leon, you there, bruv?
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Family, put some ones in the chat. Show your appreciation. Such a very powerful presentation right there. We do have a little bit of time for some Q&A, family. I know there's quite a few questions in the Q&A. Raise your hand if you want to go live. I'm gonna start going through these questions in the Q&A, but I might not be able to go through all of them. So raise your hand. All right. Sis Abimbola, you can unmute your mic, sis, and ask your question. And oh, you there, sis? We can't hear you. All right.
Me
Melly.
now? Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now,
Okay.
sis. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Leah, for brilliant seminar. I just
Thank you,
wanted to
sis.
know, the Botana oil
Oh, yes.
you're saying that very positively, which I'm quite
Yeah.
pleased to say. And also using, when you say wraps, I use like silk wraps even to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because silk fabric, because I'm a seamstress anyway, so I know what to do about
Oh,
sewing and
nice.
stuff. And yeah, and I use a sulfate shampoo. It's a black hair. He's sort of dormant at the moment, called Younger Natural. Have you
Oh,
heard? I
right.
don't know. And he's dormant online at the moment. I don't know why, but anyway,
Mm.
I think they're rejigging the business or whatever. And he has a sulfate free shampoo. You mean sulfate free, don't you?
Yes, sulfate free.
Yeah, sulfate free shampoo. And that's okay. And also, what was the other thing? Yes, towels. I've got like waffle towels,
Oh, yes.
which are better than the ordinary. toweling. Is that
Yes,
right? And that's okay for your hair because that doesn't pull coils or anything
exactly.
for it.
Yeah.
Okay, grand. Thank you very much.
So, sis, I will
Mm,
say with
mm,
Batana oil,
mm.
I can't say it's not just marketing because
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, of
always get
course.
suspicious.
Mm.
Like, Leon, do you remember when they went crazy about telling everyone to get vitamin D supplementation?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
Right.
of course. Yeah,
Batana oil has been around for hundreds of years. Dr. Sebi
yeah.
was talking about Batana oil for at
Hmm.
least 30 years. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden,
Hmm.
it blew up online. So I'm not saying that I tried Batana oil.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest, all of my, like, I had pots of it here in the house, and all
Mm.
of my children
Mm.
tried it. And I couldn't see a discernible difference in the rate of growth of my hair when I was using it and when I wasn't. However,
Okay. Okay.
social media marketing
Mm.
is the reason why social media is so powerful
Mm.
is because it supports small businesses. So a small
Yeah. Yeah.
business can have the same marketing reach as a huge company using
Hmm.
social media. And lots of small businesses were able to
Hmm.
get their hands on Batana oil and then use social media to make huge exaggerated claims about how
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
and it convinced everyone because all they need to do is put a montage of videos
Hmm.
and bump up the price of Batana
Hmm.
oil because
Hmm.
I think everyone has experienced buying something off a social media video
Mm.
for £30 and then going and finding it on Amazon or eBay, the
Mm.
exact same product for
Mm.
10.
Yeah, but it's not just that. Also, with with a lot of these, even the black hair people that go to a certain in London anyway. There's a certain um provider called PAKS that have shops all over
Yeah.
the place. I do it like that because we're online
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you don't know who is.
Yeah.
And they mix things up. And even with Amazon, they were arguing that Batana oil was not the original. It was something, it was mixed with other items into
Yeah.
the Batana oil and stuff like that. I know that social media is good for small business. I know that.
Yeah.
But that's why it's always good talking to professionals who know about things. And I mean, unfortunately, I just buried my barber hairdresser last week. He was only
Oh,
my age.
bless.
I know he was a brilliant guy, but he's
Mm,
unfortunately passed away. So he's the person I would have gone to, but I
yeah.
can no longer. So it's always good talking to people like you because I can't get to Birmingham in a few weeks, unfortunately. But anyway, there'll be other ones in
Yes.
future. Um,
Thank
but
you,
yes,
sis.
I understand. So I won't keep you because there'll be other question people asking. So thank you anyway.
Thank you, fam. Thank you, sis.
Melly, you
Hey,
can.
Melly.
Hi, really good presentation. It was just a
Thank you.
question on the co-washing.
Yes.
So I've got in at the moment protective style
Yes.
braid. So would you recommend co-washing protective styles or shampooing
So if
protective
you've got
styles?
because of the oiliness of co-washing, some of that can get trapped in the braid. So when you're washing your hair and you've just got like a loose braid or a loose plait, everything you've washed and picked up, that dirty water can wash out through the loose braid. But if you've got in actual braids, actual extensions, too
Mhm.
much of that buildup can get caught in there. And then what will happen is you'll end up with your braid smelling.
Right.
You won't be able to do
Mhm.
anything. So in this instance, I would recommend that you use a diluted sulfate shampoo. Sulfate free, sorry. A diluted
Oh,
sulfate free shampoo. And you use that to wash your hair and rinse it really well.
fabulous. Thank you. What about dry shampoos? Because they can there's quite a lot on the market now. I don't know
The dry
how
ones.
effective, yeah, how effective those are
Yeah, so again, what we
if
found
they're sulfate,
with the sisters
if
that
they've
I've
got
worked with
sulfates
is the dry ones, again, they just kind of get caught in the braid
in the
itself.
braids. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you've
Oh,
got loose hair and you're washing your loose natural hair or your loose hair, then yeah, those ones are really good. But yeah, if you've got a braid in, we just don't want things to get caught because it's
mm,
not like a lock. So when we lock our hair, it's still just our hair. But when you've got, unless you're using human hair to braid your hair, but if it's plastic, too much can get built up in that toxic in that actual braid, and then
mm,
it's just very unhygienic at that point.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're
Thanks.
welcome, sis.
Yes, there was a comment in the chat saying I think people should be really mindful about buying products online. I will say this with regards to Botana oil and just products in general. I've said this before on my Blacklisted Health course. As soon as you something becomes super popular, kind of like overnight, and now all of a sudden everyone's selling it, that means it's not the real deal. Do you get what I'm saying? Because I noticed that with spirulina, when
Mm,
spirulina blew up, and then everyone was like, "Yeah, spirulina this, spirulina that," and now they sell spirulina in Sainsbury's and Tesco's and all those sort of stuff. So obviously, it's not going to be the proper stuff. I know with Botana oil, there there's the proper Botana oil, and then there's a lot of stuff that other people are buying. I've bought
mm.
two Botana oils. One of them is stiff and thick like coconut oil, and the other
Yeah.
one's like olive oil. So they can't both be the same thing.
Yeah.
But both of them say Botana oil. All right, let's go through these Q&As. I was told hair should be washed using warm water and not hot water. Is that correct?
Yeah, because if it's too hot, it can strip too much of the oil from the hair and the scalp. So, because again, we do want to be gentle with our scalp and our hair in general. So yeah, warm water is better. I've also heard that it's useful to, when you're finished washing your hair, to finish washing it on the coolest water you can, if not cold water, because that can help to seal the cuticles more as well. So yeah, I think that's good advice.
Cool. Raise your hands if you want to go live, family. I'm just going to go through all of these Q&As. What causes fuzzing of the hair? This happened to me in the past after washing my hair. Or fusing.
Fuzzing or
Is it fusing
frizzing.
or fuzzing? I don't know.
So I mean, we all have a natural curl pattern, and I do hesitate with that term frizzing because frizzing is just how your hair is. Unless you've always had curl definition. But again, that definition part, a lot of the narrative behind that is smoothing out hair and our hair being smooth, that being better than it being the way that it naturally is. Um, So you've got things like curl defining creams, and the curl defining cream, after you've washed your hair and you put a curl defining cream on, that cream kind of sits heavy on the shafts of hair and keep it in a wider coil or a wider pattern. But once that's been washed off or wiped off, then the hair goes back to the way that it naturally is. Um, and yeah, so frizz has been given a kind of negative connotation where sometimes that is just how your hair is. So if
Okay.
your hair is naturally frizzy, then doing something about it means making it not the way that it naturally is. If you prefer your hair to have curl definition, then that would probably take you using a lot of products on your hair if that's not just how. So with all of I've got five daughters. One of my daughters, her hair is just naturally wavy. It's much wavier than it is my consistency. This would be considered frizzy. Whereas her, and this is how my hair naturally is, whereas her hair is naturally not like that. It's a lot, actually, two of my daughters, it's a lot more wavy. So it's just about how your hair naturally is, sis.
Okay. This says post-menopause. I have curly, mixed textured hair.
Yep.
Because I have mix of Jamaican, Chinese, Indian, Black heritage. So how do I bring life back to my hair, especially when I'm putting it in a ponytail, side hairline thinner at temples and the back of neckline? Clumps come out with large tooth detangle comb when
Oh,
combing throughout when I've not combed it for a while properly.
so if you haven't combed your hair for a while, it is understandable more's going to come out when you do comb it because that's just those 50 to 100 strands that are naturally leaving your body every day. It's but if it's coming out excessively and and it's getting thinner and thinner, then that is a problem. It does sound like there's a general challenge. And the thing is, there's been so little research done into menopause and the amount of things that menopause causes, um, that it can feel a bit confusing that our whole body just seems to be doing craziness when we're going through menopause. If you are able to come to the event, I'm going to be speaking about menopause for the whole of my talk, and going into all of the things that could affect your hair while you're going through menopause. But menopause challenges essentially are due to the changes in our hormone balance. So looking at your hormone health is going to be really important, and going back over this recording and just stopping at every stage. What am I using to wash my hair? How am I handling my hair? What products am I using on my hair afterwards? How am I maintaining my hair between washes? Because it could be something really simple that is not happening during those stages that's causing this syndrome, this accumulation of symptoms that's all happening all at once. But going back over and looking at just how you're caring for your hair, the answer could be there.
Good, good. We got a question from a guy. Yes.
Hey.
Fellas. This one says, blessings and good evening. I am of mixed race, African, Indian, Spanish, and Irish blood, male from the Caribbean, and my hair is wavy. I use Pantene to shampoo my hair once or twice per week. Should I shampoo my hair as regularly as I do? And then they go on to say, what moisturizers would you recommend for my type of hair? I am presently using a defining curl custard.
So I would definitely recommend you use as many natural hair care products as possible. So because your hair is wavy, you would probably be able to get away with using just washing your hair once a week, but still not using something as strong as Pantene, because Pantene still has SLS, it's still got the sulfates in it. So even though we normally talk about the hormone disruption that happens to women, brothers go through hormone disruption as well. And Leon can tell you more than anyone else all of the negative impact of you not having good enough testosterone levels, and the disruption that can happen when your body is taking in all those toxins. And especially if you're washing your hair twice a week, because if you can smell your hair care products the next day, that means there's a coating of that hair care product still on your hair. That's what you're smelling. So you technically your hair should just smell clean. There shouldn't really be a strong lingering odor. And that is one thing that a lot of people remember about shampoos like Pantene, is that not only are there a lot of chemicals in that shampoo itself, but a lot of them stay on your hair, so they're being absorbed into your body. You should probably be able to just wash your hair once a week. If going to washing your hair once a week means that you feel your hair feels more dirty, then go back to washing it twice a week, but definitely use a much cleaner, much healthier shampoo. And if you really want that curl pattern, then the curl defining mousse is okay, as long as, again, it's from a company where it's SLS free, mineral oil free, all the things. But you could probably, again, get away with just using an oil because of all the heritages you have. Most of those heritages are from, like, in India, they use coconut oil. That is one of the main things they use on their hair to make their hair look amazing. I remember when I worked as a nurse, and all of the Indian elders that I worked with, they would wash their hair and they would ask me to put coconut oil through their hair. Their hair looked amazing. So coconut oil, olive oil, jojoba oil, even a shea butter mixed in with all of those, that's probably going to help you keep your hair nice and natural. You're not absorbing a load of chemicals, and it will still give you that curl in your hair.
Excellent. Ayula, you can unmute your mic, sis. Ayula. And whilst you're doing that, let me go back to the Q&A. This one says, I suffered from an itchy scalp for years, and now my hair is thinning and I have a bald patch. Could
Oh,
this be
bless.
connected?
Yeah, definitely, because there's lots of different types of bacteria that we can have that grow on our scalp that will start to destroy the hair follicles and contribute to. Now, obviously, if you are progressing in age, if you are older in age, then that can have a contributing factor. But when you listen to trichologists talk, and at any of the events where there are trichologists, they always mention the many different bacterial infections that can result in different forms of alopecia. Some of them are reversible, some of them are not so much, but you do want to work from the inside out and look at your your diet, your hydration, what you're putting on your scalp. Are you nourishing your hair, handling all the things? Because even when people start having that bald patch, a lot of people that have bald patches, they will say that small amounts of hair are growing back, they just don't stay. The amount of, if there is any hair that is growing from that bald patch, it needs to be looked after so that we can encourage more growth. So again, going back over this recording, looking at all the different steps and seeing how you can be as gentle as possible to help stimulate regrowth if it is possible. But seeing a good trichologist at this point, if there is actual balding happening, that might be a good idea because they'll be able to look at your scalp with a magnifying glass and see exactly what potential bacterial activity you are specifically dealing with so you can get specific help with that.
Okay, this one says, Grand Rising Leah, great
Hey,
presentation.
bud.
I have three questions, please. How is the best how is the best way, I'm assuming that means how is the best way to detangle matted afro hair? How is the best way to detangle it?
So the best way to detangle it is with patience. So if your hair is super, super, super matted, the first thing you want to do is give yourself time. Don't even think that you're going to do it all in one session. Get a good conditioner, a good, natural conditioner. Put loads of conditioner on one part of the mat at a time and use your fingers firstly to pull apart as much of what's detangled as possible and just start with pulling it apart with your fingers and keep on putting water and conditioner onto small parts. Then, once you've pulled it apart with your fingers, then go in and finger comb it as gently as you can. And it's also useful to work from the tips and move further up. So detangle the tips first, then move further up until you get to the top. When you get to the top, that's when you can start finger combing it. Then getting something like this, a very wide toothed comb, and doing that. Keep on using as much product. Now is the time to load product on because that product is going to help to keep the shafts of hair moisturized so the ones that are not already broken can be maintained. Only after you've been able to go in with a wide tooth comb after lots and lots of time, then wash it. It doesn't even need to be fully detangled. Then go in and wash it, and then go back in with the conditioner on the wet hair with lots of the conditioner, and then continue very gently pulling it apart. Wash that conditioner out, and then you can go to the lock methods after that point. But it's just lots of time. It's basically the same thing that you would do if you were going to unpick your locks. So if you find a video on unpicking locks, everything that I've just said is how you would unpick your locks if you wanted to go from being locked to going back to being a loose natural. It is possible to retain lots of hair when it's really matted, when it's a lock. It just takes patience.
Okay, and this second question was, what is the function of the medulla?
Oh, that's where the nutrients get sent. It's the core of the hair. It's where the nutrients get sent. So when you look at the diagram of the hair underneath the scalp, there's the hair buds, which is like the round bit underneath, and through the hair bud is the blood supply. So the blood supply provides the nutrients through the medulla. The medulla we never really see the medulla. It's only the shaft of the hair and the cuticles that we really see. But that's where the nutrients would have been. That's like the core part of the hair. But it doesn't really get affected because the only part that's exposed is the cuticles around the sides.
And then last question is, do you recommend using bamboo hair wraps for African hair?
I have never even heard of a bamboo hair wrap.
Yeah, she says sold by the Body Shop, apparently. Sold
Lord
by.
have mercy. Um, I've never heard of a bamboo hair
All
wrap,
right,
so I'm not going to
cool.
be able to respond, babe.
All right, couple more questions, family. We're running out of time. This one says, is henna a safe option to
Oh,
color natural hair?
yes. Henna is not only a safe option to color natural hair, it doesn't last very long. It doesn't last very long, and it also doesn't last particularly well on darker hair colors. But henna is also really mineralizing. It's a really good deep conditioner. So the same way that you would use like Rasul clay or bentonite clay or other clays as a hair mask, and you can use hair masks the same way you use skin masks, the same way you would use like a face mask every like once a month or something. Putting henna or clay on your hair once a month, it's a really good deep conditioner. It puts loads of minerals. It helps to reduce inflammation on the scalp. It's brilliant. As well as it being an option for coloring hair, it's also just a really good way of nourishing and maintaining and conditioning our hair as well.
Okay. Oh, and that previous question, she says, or the person says, is fusing where the hair clumps together, not frizzing. She was asking
Oh,
about fusing.
fusing.
Yeah.
I think that's just management. It's just making sure that we're detangling our hair and using enough oils and things like that to keep the
Yeah.
hair from matting.
All right, last two. This one says, as a swimmer, swimming three to
Hey,
five times weekly, how do you
nice.
ensure you keep hair clean? I rinse my hair
Yeah.
after every swim and often co-wash afterwards to avoid stripping hair further. Can you recommend clarifying shampoos to use twice a month, perhaps?
Yeah, so with your because of the chlorine, it's a what you do to your hair before you go into the water as well. So I have worked. So one of my sister-in, actually a few of my sister-in are swimmers, and they have nice big, bonnets, not bonnets, swim caps that they wear, and a lot of them will put olive oil on there, not tons of it, so it's all coming out and follow you in the water, but they will oil their hair before they go in and then co-wash it when they come out as well to keep it protected. And then using again clays once a month would also be useful. Doing that deep conditioning, even a hot oil treatment once a month would be really beneficial, especially things like jojoba oil and a horsetail tea rinse. That would be really beneficial. And even a hot oil treatment that you put in hot and then you sleep through the night with it and then wash it out. Doing that once a month and a horsetail tea hair rinse, that would be really protective as well. Also, it's important that you're nourishing your body from the inside out. So making sure you're getting lots of healthy fats and hydration in your diet. So you're looking after your hair from the inside out and protecting it on the top end as well. That would be really, really beneficial.
Excellent. And then one last one. This one says the womb balance capsules. Could my 16-year old take the capsules?
Oh, yeah, definitely. My 14-year-olds are taking them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, family, that is it. I know there were more questions, but we're running out of time. So thank you, everyone. And thank you to Leah. Put some ones in the chat for Leah Salmon, the Naturally You coach. She is going to be our host for the Hidden Science of Black Hair. Can't wait for that one. We've got less than 3 weeks to go for this event. And we do have accommodation options available for those of you who want to stay in the same hotel that we're going to be staying at. So we're going to be staying at a hotel that's just 5 minutes away from the venue. There's two options for rooms. You can either get a double bedroom, which you can share or have to yourself, or a twin bedroom, where you can share that one. And you can either stay for one night or 2 nights. So me and my team, we're going to be there from Friday to Sunday, but a lot of you, you're going to be coming to the event on the Saturday and you might just want to stay a night at the hotel if you don't want to go all the way back to London that same night, because the event does actually finish at 8 o'clock. Yeah, so and chances are it might finish a little bit later. So then if you're driving or getting the train back to London, that's going to be a long journey and you probably won't be getting back to London until after or nearly close to 12 o'clock at night. So if you want to spend a night or two at the hotel that we're staying at, we're going to post the details, get in contact with Marcia, and she'll be able to give you more information on that.